Derek from Tomcat Gas Training, and welcome to part 2 on how to carry out a landlord report. Now, if this is the first video you're watching, then you started at the wrong place. You need to go back over there and you need to find part 1 and watch that first. But if you've seen part 1, welcome to part 2, and as usual, let's just get on with it. So next appliance is the visual inspection on the cooker. Now then, first problem we've got is this should be level here, okay, but it's got a metal edging on it and there's no signs of scorching or burning on the worktop, and we do have the gaps around, so it's not in a great spot because the door hits it. But and the visual will just note that it's lower than the worktop, but it's not breaking any regulations because there's no signs of scorching or burning, so that would make it at risk, and there isn't any of that. So we need to measure the room size. We do have an openable window. Now we have actually got a door here stopping us going to the back door, so the back door doesn't count. So this room needs to be greater than 10 meters cubed, which I'm sure it is, but we'll give it a measure. So the ventilation requirements for this cooker, if the room was less than 5 meters cubed, we would need 100 centimeters squared of free air. If the room was between 5 and 10 meters cubed, we would need 50 centimeters squared, and if the room is greater than 10 meters cubed, then we don't require any purpose provided ventilation for this cooker. We just need an openable window to comply with the building regs as a purge point. Now this room is just over 12 meters cubed, so we don't require any ventilation, just this openable window. So on the visuals on the back of the cooker, so we've got a chain, we've got a flexi hose which is hanging down and not touching the floor. It's on a bayonet, so we just need to measure the height of that bayonet. That looks good so far. So Andy's just going to check the measurement, put your finger on it, pull it up without catching it on the gas pipe. And it is, mind you, and it's 600, I think. It's 600. So we need to check the manufacturer's instructions now, because British Standard says it needs to be 750. But if the manufacturer's instruction says 600, then happy days. So the manufacturer's instructions say we could install the hose anywhere in this shaded area, but not in this area at the top where it says is the hot section, and as long as the hose is not touching the floor, so we can deem this correct. So this cooker has no thermoelectric safety devices on the hob, but it does have thermoelectrics on the grill and down there in the oven, so we will be checking those safety devices. We're just off gas rating the grill at the moment. We've done the hobs, they've come out bang on. We're just doing the grill, and then we've got the oven to gas rate. Also, we need to check the burners, so we need to check them on maximum and also a minimum to make sure they don't go out. Now, let's fill this information in for the cooker. So the cooker's location is kitchen. The make and model, it was a Beko. It was a cooker. Its flue type is it's flueless, and its kilowatt rating altogether with everything was 11.68 kilowatts. Was its safety devices correct? Yes. Was it a spillage test? That's NA. Flue flow test is NA. Flue gas analyzing, NA. Then satisfactory termination, well there's no flue, so that's NA. Flue visual condition, that's again NA. Adequate ventilation, yes, the room was big enough and there was a window for the purge point, so that's yes. Landlord's appliance, yes. Was it inspected? Yes. Was it serviced? No. And is the appliance safe to use? Yes. But we had a little issue we need to write down at the bottom. So we need to put the cooker is lower than worktop. Remedial action, well we couldn't put it any higher because the legs wouldn't go any higher, so that was none, and it's NA, because there was no signs of scorching or any kind of damage. So that's the cooker. The last appliance is the boiler, so let's have a look at this boiler. So visuals on the boiler. Blow off looks good. Flue looks definitely sealed. We're also facing a boundary wall, which we need to be 600 more than, which we are, and the flue is definitely more than 2 meters up off the ground, so we don't need a terminal guard, and it shouldn't be a blooming nuisance to the neighbours. So the flue looks good. So visual on the boiler, flue sealed on the inside. Need to take the cover off. We've got a filter, we've got a stat, and we need to do our visuals inside first. And as you can see, this boiler is electrically fed by a switched plug socket. So visual inspection inside, looks pretty good. We are going to be servicing this boiler as well to cover its warranty. But visuals inside look good. So we're now doing inlet pressure on maximum, and Harrison say we can go down to 17.5 on maximum, and we've got 18.5. Okay. What did we have working at the meter? 19.5. Yeah. So we're literally, even though we're not testing in the right spot, we still got a 1 millibar drop. We're within that. Even though we are testing at the inlet of the valve and not at the inlet down here because there isn't a test valve. So that's our inlet pressures. And when you're finished doing your inlet test, make sure you use leak detection fluid to see whether it's passing or not. So we're going to test this boiler safety devices. So we've got the hot tap running, and you can see the burners on. So I'm going to turn the gas off. So the gas is off. And let's see what the boiler does. So it's gone into SP3. So it's now going to try and light 3 times. Tap's still running, as you can hear. It's now reading SP1. SP2. After 1 minute and 40 seconds, I'm now losing the will to live. There you go, finally reset 501, no gas. That took nearly 1 minute and 50 seconds. So turn the gas back on, press the reset button, hold it in till it says it's reset. It's a test, we don't want test, but There you go, we're back on. Let's turn the tap back on, make sure it fires up. And away it goes. So that's safety devices checked. So all we've got to do now is flue gas analyse up there. So we've got the boiler in minimum mode. We've got it in the left hand test port. And the readings we've got so far are 6.4 for oxygen, 0 for CO, 8.3 for CO2 and no ratio. And that's on the minimum setting. It's been on 5 minutes or so now. We are getting a pretty stable reading. So we can count that as our minimum setting. So let's put it in maximum. So we're now in maximum test mode. We're still doing analysing. And our reading now is 79 for CO, 9 for CO2, with a ratio of 0.0009. So remember, minimum of 15 minutes of a stable reading to a maximum of 30 when you're flue gas analysing. But we seem to be getting pretty stable readings there. CO of 80, CO2 of 9 and 0.0009. Well in. So we're now doing flue integrity. Boiler's on minimum. We're now in the right hand port, not the left hand one. Our reading is not very good. All that we've got is right near the motorway, right in the middle of the town centre. We just took some readings from outside and we actually got a ratio outside. We were getting an oxygen reading of 20.4. So it shows you don't live in a major town or a city near a motorway. But that's on minimum. We're now going to put it on maximum. So we're on maximum. We're still on fluid integrity on the right. Very much on the borders with this, with where we are. Like I say, if you get readings like this, then you definitely know there's nothing wrong with the flue. Take your readings outside and see what you get. And this is exactly what we were getting outside, up and down all the time. But there's no leaking inside, we know the flue's pretty good, so we can deem it safe. Always when you finish flue gas analysing, make sure you put your test point back on. So the last test Andy's doing now is what's called the sweep test. So he's going around the case seals, making sure he takes particular attention around the turret and the test point where we've just taken off. So it's a 2-minute test and we're looking for a CO reading of less than 10 parts per million. So always remember to do your sweep test, guys. So you can see we're coming to the end of the test. 2-minute test is done and we've got no CO and we've got no CO2. And we've passed. Okay, we're going to test this filter. So we've isolated the 2 valves, we've connected on the little spout. We're going to remove the magnet and then using a big flat screwdriver, you can actually use the knob, but this is solid. We're going to open that up. Ooh. And then we're just going to gently open the valve at the top to flush it through. So it's clear. And that's cleaned out the muck from there. Put the magnet back on and then shut this back off and then turn it all back on again. Now let's fill the last one in, which is this boiler. So again, location is the kitchen. The boiler was an Ariston E-Combi 1. It's a boiler. It's room sealed. And when we gas rated it on hot water, it came out at 25.24 kilowatts. So safety devices, so you saw us do the safety devices, so that's a yes. And spillage test, well no, it's room sealed, so that's NA. Flue flow is NA. Now flue gas analysing. Our initial reading on minimum was 0.000, and then when we did it on maximum, our ratio was 0.0009. Satisfactory termination, so you saw that, which was yes. Flue visual condition, so that's a pass. Adequate ventilation, it's room sealed, but we'll still put yes, even an A. Landlord's appliance was yes. Inspected, we inspect it. And we serviced it because we needed to do that for the warranty, and it's safe to continue. Now, one of the things I do, because actually the flue gas analyzer readings here are pretty poor, what I do down at the bottom, down here, is I write the readings in on maximum and minimum. So we've got those results, and the landlords, I could actually write them in here if I wanted to, or I could write them in here, but this is where the faults go. But it makes no odds as long as you tell the landlord why you've written them in there, and it's also an indication that you have done it. Minimum equals the CO was 0. The CO2 equals 8.4, and the ratio equals nothing. So it was 0.0000. On maximum, the CO equaled 85. CO2 equaled 9.1, and the ratio equaled 0.0009. Now that's giving us the figures for the flue gas analysing. We've also got the printout from our analyzer, but if that gets lost, we've still got the readings here, which is also good for us for next year. So the last bit we've got to fill in here is down at the bottom. So number of appliances tested is 3. So always make sure you put a 0 beforehand. Then we need to sign it, and I need to write my name, and I need to write the date, today's date in there. Then I need to also get the tenant to sign it and date it. Okay, now one of the things I have not put down in the faults, which the keen-eyed of you would have spotted for the boiler, was the boiler is connected to a switch socket. Again, it's not to current standards, and again it's NA. But technically, do we need to pick that up because it's an electrical fault, not a gas fault? The other thing, we did check the plug socket had a 3 amp fuse, and it did have that in. So that's one of the things I have missed off to put in. So that's filling in this landlord's gas safety check. Now, last thing you must do with this form before you hand it over is any blank lines, you must put lines across so nobody can write anything else into your landlord's report. So you must do that with all the blank lines. Like that, so nobody else can fill anything else in. Now, the white copy goes to the landlord or the agent. Now, underneath here is a green copy, which we keep as the engineer, and underneath that is a pink copy, which then goes off to the tenant. So this, the tenant needs to keep this, and the tenant should be giving the next engineer who does a landlord report this, because of the date's important. So let's find out why this date is important. Now, why is this date important when we're doing the landlord report? Now, we've now got an MOT style way of checking our CP12s. CP12, that's what British Gas used to call their books, CP12, so that's where that comes from. So it's a landlord report. So landlords can now, so from the 6th of April 2018, can now have their gas safety checks carried out up to 2 months early before the date of the next test without losing any time. So that's why this date's important. Now, other issues. What if you have a new appliance fitted in between the two landlord report dates? Now, according to the regulations, a new boiler has been installed. The new boiler doesn't have to have a landlord report for a further 12 months. But it's advisable to retest the appliance when all the others are due. So if you've got 8 months left on a landlord report, or 10 months or 11 months, then that boiler doesn't have to be checked then until the next one's due, technically within 12 months. So that's another thing. Appliances, when they're brand new, don't have to have landlord reports for the first 12 months. Now, if the property becomes vacant before the end of the landlord report, and then it goes, say, 6 months where it's an empty property, then when you come to do the next landlord report, it will reset the clock. But you have to issue that certificate to the landlord before he actually tenants it, because it is an offence still to try and let out a property without a current landlord report. So it would be out of date, so you would have to do that then before the tenant moves in. I hope that's clear. So these dates on these landlord reports are really, really important, and seeing that last copy of the landlord report is also important for the gas engineer, so you can determine, one, whether it's 2 months early, whether it's 2 months late, because if the landlord's report is 2 months late, then they've been letting out the property without a landlord report. Okay, which is an offence, remember. And also, if the property has been vacant, he would then have to prove that the property has been vacant. So the dates are incredibly important. And that is the end of this video on how to carry out a landlord report. Now, if you've liked this video, why don't you give me that thumbs up, or leave a constructive comment down below. If you've not subscribed to our channel, then please subscribe, because it helps, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, because we're releasing videos mainly on Mondays and Wednesdays. All I've got left to say is thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.